What's up, everyone? It's a Week 8 recap, and I have COVID, so this is my flu game, but we gotta talk football nonetheless. And we're gonna start with the matchup of all matchups. Two of my done chains go head-to-head, and I get a little bit nervous. But for Team Straight Knockout, a Breece Hall 40-point game pushed him over the edge, gets 144, which isn't very done chain of you to get. It's not like a stellar, crazy performance, but 144 very solid. If you take out Breece Hall's game, of course, you're looking at a much more disappointing week that you saw across the board. We talk about wide receivers every week, and it was another week where wide receivers disappointed. 8.9 from Diggs. She got 12. Judy, 0 points. And McLaurin, 13.9. So, yeah, as a wide receiver group, 4 guys totaling, what is that, 9, 21. Totaling like 35 points is tough. Under 10 per receiver is rough in a league like this. But you were going up against another team that I've done chain and needed a loss from, actually more so. Because while you go to 3-5, still a bit of a done chain record, Team Live La Vida Yoda was over 500, so I was a little bit nervous, but the only guy that you don't expect to completely lay a dud, Jake Ferguson, gets 0 points, which was very surprising. Oh my gosh. And just everyone really laid an egg. It was just Joe Flacco as the only performer for Leaving La Vida Yoda. So yeah, I mean, this was a toilet bowl of toilet bowls. But Team Straight Knockout still had a solid game to keep his season alive on paper, although we've all know once I done chain someone that they have no chance. So we'll see what happens there. And listen, my other done chain did get a loss, Team the Chairman, but got to give him credit, 159 points. Very solid week. Jordan Love, 40 points. Vidal, 27 points. McConkey, 20 points. It was actually a pretty good week for a Chairman team that I've always said for a while is just completely full of it. And he had to do it this week without McBride and Gibbs, so you got to really give a guy credit. And I'm going to give the guy credit. But unfortunately for him, it's another loss, 2-6. You're in really bad shape. Whereas Vinny Figs goes to 5-3, one of my top teams, behind a massive 206-point game from his guys, including 26 from Josh Allen, 45 from Jonathan Taylor, and 23 from Rashee Rice, who really looks like the truth right now. The surprise games, Kraft 36.3 and Shakir 21.12. But ultimately, it's a well-rounded team being managed really well. You know, again, everybody said getting hit by buys, but Devontae Adams on a bye didn't really matter for him. A.J. Brown was hurt, didn't really matter for him. And he benches Justin Herbert at 33.28 for Josh Allen, which is notable only because I don't think you need both guys. I think there's a trade opportunity for Vinny Figs to improve elsewhere. I don't know why Downs needs to be starting or Shakir needs to be starting. I know they had good weeks. Or even Tony Pollard needs to be starting. So, yeah, Devontae slides in. A.J. Brown presumably slides in. Could you get a better running back? Could you trade Pollard and Herbert for a better running back? I wonder. Herbert is definitely, in my opinion, actually not my opinion, he's definitely a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So there's going to be a team that needs a guy like Justin Herbert. And this might be one of them that we're about to talk about because El Professor gets the loss, 135 to 135. It was an incredible game. And, you know, it's a little ironic because I was kind of coming into this saying, is Bo Nix better than Justin Herbert? Bo Nix at the QB was the only advantage that El Professor had in such a dominant fashion. 32 points from Bo Nix to Baker Mayfield's 2 points. Mike Evans' injury maybe impacting Baker? I don't know. But Bucky will be back, and, you know, Baker just had one off game. But Dustin Lewin does get the win, which was a massive win for him, but a really devastating loss for El Professor team that now goes to 2-6. And, I mean, you know, just losing by 0.8 is brutal. Judkins' injury, brutal, because if he doesn't get hurt, you almost definitely win. QJ is not getting a target Thursday night, brutal. At least you got Gadsden, so you kind of hedged your bet there, but this was a loss you couldn't afford, and you did get the loss. So I wonder if Brock Bowers has now lost his job in El Professor land, and instead you make a trade to upgrade one of your other positions. Maybe QJ's time is up, and you make a trade for a wide receiver. We'll see. But Dustin Lewin's going to be the more relevant team rest of season as James Cook's been incredible, 45 points, just remarkable. J.K. Dobbins gets him 20. And the rest of the team just did solid. Listen, this week was certainly not about Dustin Lewin being incredible. It was about James Cook being great and that being enough to beat another team that just did okay this week. So it was a big win, though, for Dust in the win. And then the last 2 games come down to another very close game. Team Chef Cesario gets a massive win, 120 to 119 over Banditos. A bit of a lucky win here as Banditos laid an egg in a lot of regards. Deebo Samuel only 2.7 Monday night is what lost the game for him. Mason 1 point, brutal. Pinheiro 1 point, brutal. And Banditos gets his first loss of the season, an unexpected one against a Team Chef Cesario team who was just desperate for it. Of course, Amonra being on bye, JSN being on bye, Garrett. If there was a week for this to happen, it was this week. You don't want to criticize a guy, but I will say Mason over Kamara was a bit surprising to me. Both guys didn't do well, but you would have gotten the win if you did go with the more obvious pick, in my opinion, which would be Kamara. So, with that being said, Team Chef Cesario does get a big win, goes to 3-5, so it's not yet over for him. Chase Brown, 26 points, was the savior of this game. Ja'Marr Chase also 17.6. So Joe Flacco entering that offense really saved this team for this season. But there's still a lot of questions to be answered. I mean, Kyron's going to find his way back in the starting lineup, but there's a lot of close calls on this team as far as start-sit decisions. I can't imagine you want to keep going with Tez. Do you even look at a guy like Kincaid and say, hey, does Kyle Pitts do more for me than Kincaid? It's going to be a lot of questions Team Chef Cesario has to ask himself as he prepares to get himself right back in the picture. And then finally, Team Electric gets a big win, 167-118 over El Granas. And a big win meaning he won by a lot, 50 points. Saquon's 40 points and Achan's 20 points, a big part of that. You look at a guy like this, starting Drake London getting 0 points, you say you don't deserve a win. But the guy gets a win anyway, so what do you want me to say? I obviously don't like it. I don't respect it. I'm rooting against Electric now. But, a win's a win. El Granas can't get the win despite that blunder by his opponent because he had to start a guy like Marvin Mims, Keon Coleman, Stevenson, Dart. I mean, it's just not a good team. What do you want me to say? When Puka comes back, great, but I just, even with that, it's hard to imagine El Granas making a run this year. So we'll just have to see. Boys, I love you. I wish you all the best, and I will talk to you next week when I'm healthier.